Showtime presents The Shy with Love, a special concert event inspired by the original series. Join us as Chicago's very own perform inspiring songs of strength and love. Sunday, 7/6 Central at theshywithlove.com.
Welcome back to a special quarantine edition.
We got a real special guest.
What's up with your Brody with the virtual handshake?
I'm gonna tell y'all something that I never told nobody.
I want all the smoke.
Welcome back to a special quarantine edition of All the Smoke. Not too often do I fan out. I mean, normally I've run across everybody. I've seen everyone. I've had the fortune of meeting everybody. But our next guest, man, I grew up idolizing this dude, man. So it's an honor for me to have him on our show today. Jack, what's happening with you out there in Atlanta? You pay your Metro bill? Your Wi-Fi was lagging a little bit. You cash out the Metro bill?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good now. I'm good now, bro. The weather kind of gloomy out here today, but our guest, I'm excited about our guest, so I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, we're going to pick your energy up because it's sunny over here and it's sunny where he's at. Man, let's welcome the one and only Ken Griffey Jr., man. Thank you for your time.
No problem. How you guys doing?
We're well.
We're well.
How about you? The real kid. The kid.
Real kid, yeah.
So how was
I'm a normal person.
So you just turned 50. Congratulations. Happy belated. Obviously not just in November. You turned 50. I just turned 40. Jack's on his way up there too. How's quarantine life treating you and the family?
Quarantine life is okay. I tell everybody this was my lifestyle from being 19 to 35. Not being able to go places. Do I want to go to the mall? Do I want to go to the store? Do I need to pick this up? So for me, it's sitting at the house. I'm used to it. For everybody else, it's tough. You want your kids to be outside. You want them to do things. And, it's tough. I mean, there's people out here dying and things like that. We just lost a friend of ours a couple days ago. So it's been tough.
Sorry to hear that.
Everybody. But, our job is, we play ball, we go work home every now and then, go out to eat, go out to a club every now and then. But it's mainly, I'm sitting at my house.
No, I've enjoyed it. We spoke on this before. I mean, Jack and I both, we've been running around a lot with our post-career and our jobs. So it's good to kind of sit back and be able to catch up and relax, recharge your batteries. It's unfortunate that this is the reason why we have to do it. But I just think overall it was good for everyone just to take a step back and appreciate things.
Baseball, trying to figure out the plan on how to return. What you thinking about that, like with all this going on?
It's tougher for smaller businesses. Big businesses, they've got some leeway with some cash flow. I think that you're going to have to space people out. What they talked about here in Florida is opening up at 25%. Maybe you do that. Maybe it's the season ticket holders and a couple other people. The biggest thing is, okay, you got a group of family of 6. Where's the next seating over for them? I think that's going to be, some of the questions that's going to be asked. But I think it can be done, but it's got to be done safely and it's got to be done right, because you definitely don't want to see I looked at today, there was 50,000+ people who have passed in the U.S. You just don't want those numbers to
continue to rise,
multiply. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can all do it, but we've got to do it in a safe way.
I agree.
But it's just going to be like Little League. Ain't nobody going to be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
People think that, athletes, they play for the money and things like that, the fame. We started this journey when it was just your mom and dad and brothers and sisters who went to the game. Mm-hmm. And then as you get older, there was more people. And then the student body when you get to college. And then, but the love for the game hasn't changed. And I think, it's going to be weird at first for the players because, we feed off of, the fans.
Energy.
Yeah. You come in there, you already got a big game. So the first couple of weeks, I think, is going to be real interesting because the guy's ready to go. I talked to D. Gordon, lives right down the street from me, and he's ready to go. He's in the cage hitting. He's in there doing pool work. I'm over there looking at it like he's crazy because he already weighed like 109 pounds. I tell him he wastes food all the time. I'm like, dude, you can't gain no weight. He eats all day. But I think the guys are ready. I know that, people are ready to see live entertainment. They're ready to see, basketball, football, baseball, golf. I mean, they just want to be, they want to look at something other than what we've been watching on TV for the last couple months.
Hey, I want to take a second real quick, Ken, and explain your background. This is the best background we've ever had, and you told us a little backstory to it, but can you please tell our fans what the backstory is and what we're looking at behind you?
Well, I moved in my house. I had one Gold Glove. It was always the first one. And actually, the first one isn't even in the display case. The first one is out where people could touch it.
Okay.
And I had 9 boxes. We moved twice, and I'd never opened up any of the boxes. People like, man, you got all these Gold Gloves. What are you going to do? So I leave for the season. I come back, and, my wife and kids are like, yeah, we got the display thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, I guess that I'm going to have to get a desk now. And I start looking around like, I got all this room. Because, for me, I'm not a display kind of person. If you look in my closet, I got everything behind doors. It looked like just a wall. And she was like, no, you got to display something. My mom and dad convinced everybody, hey, we got to, display stuff. I got my dad's World Series trophies over here. I got the Hall of Fame plaque that they gave me. I got 2 other Gold Gloves that are sitting there. And then I got like a 7-foot desk with just a computer on it and a phone. It's one of those things that, as I got older, I started understanding, my place in history and things like that. It's still tough because you play the game not for the accolades, but because you love it. And if things happen. So I wasn't really one of those people that wanted to display. Like I said, I lived in a house, and I only opened up the first one because I was, happy. I had my Silver Slugger. It was sitting right next to it. And now I got full display. People come in here and go, okay, you did all this? I'm like, nah, I ain't doing any of this.
I would have been like, hell yeah, I did. At least these are my 9 Gold Gloves.
When you come into my house, look, there go my Silver Sluggers up there, some other stuff. But I turn around, there go my Gold Glove there. There go my other one. But for the most part, like I said, man, I try not to display a whole lot of things. And then my kids come over because they want to learn how to play with drones, so they took my drone. And y'all know y'all got kids too, so that they look at things, they be like, that's mine. I be like, I didn't even get a chance to unbox one of them. I got the little starter one. I was like, cool. All of a sudden, I go on a trip, and now it's flown through my house.
It ain't yours
and I don't even get mad. No, I don't even get mad no more. I just sit there and like, especially now, with the, everybody being on lockdown, I just look at stuff that, things get broken in the house. I'll be like this, okay. All right.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Same way.
My boys are playing football. So, and I got one of those, my bed is 10 feet wide, 9 feet long. So my boys sit at the edge of the bed, and one will jump, and the other one will fake tackle him and hit his leg so he could do flips on the bed. Yeah. Now, we used to do that as kids, and my boys, 26 and 17, they doing it. And,
they're doing it at their age? They're doing it
they doing it right. I'm like, no. Even like 2 weeks ago, my youngest, he's running up my wall. I got a padded wall. He's doing backflips onto the bed. And I'm still in bed. And my wife can hear. She's in the closet, and she's over there like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. That don't bother you? I know where he at. And I'm steady watching TV. At a point, you just like, hey, he's been in this house for 6 weeks. He ain't seen nobody, his friends, nothing other than FaceTime. He has no contact with human other than the people in this house. You think he going crazy? I said, look, as an adult, we can understand that. At a 17-year-old with hormones, he's over there like this. He's looking at me like that.
Dad, break me out, Dad. Break me out. Break me out.
Yeah. 2020 Basketball Hall of Fame class. You got Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant. Tell me your thoughts on that class. I know you're a big-time basketball fan.
It's an outstanding class. Tragic what happened to Kobe. The speech I was looking forward to. Mr. Fundamental speaks for himself. I can't wait for KG to go in there and say something, because he gonna say something that everybody gonna start laughing. You know, it's one of those things that you know, it's gonna be so emotional throughout the ceremony. You know, I was there a couple years ago when they inducted Phil Knight. And, you know, the basketball and baseball Hall of Fames are so much different. But, you know, to be in a category where, you know, you're going to live forever, it's pretty special. And I can't, you know, like I said, it's going to be emotional for all of us, because as great as MJ is in basketball, my daughter is a diehard AI fan and Kobe fan. You can't say nothing wrong. And I start laughing because I'm like, you know, hey, they all learned from not Kobe. I'm like, oh, they're like, and this is when she was young. So, you know, having a teenage girl. And the thing is, her basketball coaches were D. Brown and Antonio Davis growing up. He lived right down the street from us. And I was always saying, Mr. Brown, how's AI doing? And he would say, she was tough today. I was like, okay. Because, you know, growing up, as you know, when you have kids who, you know, dads are professional athletes, the hardest thing for us to get through to other coaches that we are dads, but don't give us some of the bullshit that you can give everybody else.
Right.
We've already gone through all that. So, you know, my kids were prepared early in life that, hey, these things are going to happen. But getting back to the Hall of Fame, it's going to be a very emotional week for everybody, because, you know, that's one of the greatest competitors that ever lived.
You have any personal story that comes to mind about Kobe, or an opportunity or experience you guys shared?
No, just, you know, we actually took a family vacation, and it was probably the best family vacation that I've ever taken. And we planned it that it was LeBron and Kobe for Christmas Day in LA. And then from LA, we were going to Hawaii. My kids have never been to Hawaii. So we were like, okay, we get to Hawaii. But just being able to go in there and say hi to them, my kids look at them like, you know, what did Iverson say? He had that glow, like the Last Dragon. So
Bruce Leroy.
when they saw him, they were like looking at him. And we ended up going to Hawaii. And halfway through Hawaii, my oldest goes, Dad, well, we're going to Seattle. Because I had to take a physical. It was 2008. He said, we're going to Seattle. Why don't we stop and go to the Rose Bowl? So we fly from LA, go to the Rose Bowl, and then up to Seattle to watch Chris Johnson rush for 2,000 yards. So in that 10-day period, we got to see some of the, you know, a football game, a basketball game, and 2 football games and a basketball game, which were pretty incredible for my kids and me. I was like, you know, probably the best time I've ever had as a dad, to be able to share these type of experiences, and, you know, for them to be thankful, because they still thank me to this day about, hey, that was a great trip.
No, I think that's amazing. That's the experience lasts a lifetime. You know, I was fortunate enough, my last 3 or 4 years playing, where the Twins were traveling with me everywhere. So my final year in Golden State, Coach Kerr was so cool. He let them on the team plane. They were in the hotel with us. They were in shoot around with us, you know, shooting against KD during one of our Western Conference practices. So that's the kind of stuff that they'll never, ever forget. And like I said, those are true proud dad moments, where you're really just giving these kids like a once in a lifetime, you know, kind of look at our lives. You're struggling, hit in front of your dad, and then take us back to that the game your senior year, 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts.
So, I you know, I've had coaches throughout my high school career go, hey, tell your dad he can't show up. You can't play in front of him. You know, my mom and dad would be talking. My mom would go, you know, he did this. And he would always ask my mom, is he really that damn good? Because every time I see him, he can't hit nothing. So I was 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. He leaves, goes to the ballpark. I drive down And he goes, hey, man, what'd you do? I said, I went 3 for 5 with 2 home runs and a double. He said, you can't do that in front of me? I'm like, nah. So my very first hit in front of him as a pro, he was in an RV in left center field behind the minor league field, and I got a hit. He opens the window and he goes, now, was that so damn bad? And he closes the window. I'm like, really, Dad? You just go, I'm at first base, like, yes, I got a hit. He's like, nah, dog.
Finally. So was it smooth? When did you finally start feeling comfortable hitting around him?
Right then and there. Right when I understood that he's just like everybody else. He's a fan, but he just happened to be my dad.
Man, number 1 overall pick by the Seattle Mariners. Talk to us about where sports came. You were a multi-talented athlete, played several sports. When did you know baseball was your sport?
I knew baseball was always my sport. That's the thing. And in my household, how we grew up is you're going to play everything. The only thing that my dad insisted on was that you knew 85% of the rules before you started playing. He didn't quiz you on it, but, hey, if something happens, what do you do? Or baseball, it was easy because I grew up watching my dad. But basketball and football, he wanted to make sure that I knew the rules and go out there and play as hard as I could. And, he didn't care about the wins and losses as a kid. It was more or less the effort that was given throughout the day. The key for me growing up was that it was always about effort. I can't control what 4 other guys do on the court, or I can't control, 10 other guys on the football field, but I can control what I do. And he would never ask me, hey, what'd you do in the game? Hey, how'd your team do? And then we would go on from there. And probably about 40 minutes into the conversation, he was like, hey, what do you need to work on? So it was always a constant work, throughout, my little league, my high school, even my pro days. The one thing that was constant is the phone call, the talking. He still, he will always be my dad. And so he can't stop that. So even now I'm 50 and he's still telling me what to do. And I just look at him, I call him and be like, look, man, I got this part of it. But, now he's like, he's like grandfather. So he thinks he controls it. I'd be like, look, man, you don't live here. Ain't no mail coming to my house with your name on it. After he told me that when I was a kid.
But it's beautiful to hear the relationship you and your father have, because there's some stigma about, absent fathers in the Black community and the households. And you were someone who got to have a father, having a relationship with his father, and not only do that, but play on the same team as your father.
Yeah,
Tell us what that was like.
Well, go back a little bit. I actually met my grandfather. When you talk about absentee parents, my grandfather and my grandmother got divorced when my dad was 2. I was 19 years old, and I was in the lobby, and my grandfather showed up, and I had no idea what he looked like. And I just looked over and it was like, man. And Harold Reynolds was with me, and I said, I think that's my grandfather. He goes, what? I go, I've never met him. So Harold was like, let's go, because he looked just like one of my uncles. So Harold introduced me to my grandfather for the first time. I was 19 years old. So then I called my grandmother. I was like, hey, I just met. She was like, stay away from him. I was like, okay, cool. Because I've known you all my life. I just met this man. So what grandma said, that was the law. And the next time I saw him, I was 25. And then I had to get some stories from my dad. He actually, what's really crazy is he went to high school and played baseball with Stan Musial. So they were high school teammates. And Stan would always say, hey, your grandfather was one of the best athletes I ever played with. But getting back to my dad, everything that my grandfather did, he didn't want to make that same mistake. So as many games as he wanted to, that he could be, because he was still playing. So he would show up when he could. And he was like, this is the way it's supposed to be. So I learned from him, hey, you got to show up to as many games as possible. Because I was that kid who every Saturday my dad's playing and they got all the dads there. My dad's still not able to come unless we had that early game and they were at home. But he probably saw me 30 times from Little League until I turned pro. He did what he could. The money is, the money is definitely different where, you can charter a plane home and watch the kids and be back in the same city in the same day. I mean, I did it, when I was in Cincinnati. My little guy and my oldest guy had game 1 and game 2. So game 1 was 7:30 to 8:30 and 9 o'clock to 11. I jumped back on a plane at 11:30, 12 o'clock and be back in Cincinnati at 1:30 and for a night game. And nobody knew what happened. But, just the learning of what my dad did helped me, try to be a better parent.
Yes, I love that. There's a lot of talk right now with LeBron James possibly being able to play with his son, Bronny, and that would be an amazing feat. As we mentioned earlier, you and your dad got a chance to play with each other. Actually, the only father-son duel to hit back-to-back home runs, which is incredible. What was it like to, you're here now, and then you've always grown up seeing your dad, now you're playing with your dad. Although it wasn't very long, you still got a chance to do it, and you made some history in the process. What was that like?
Dad was funny, because when he got there, he said, hey, this is your team. This is your team. This is not my team. This is your team. You toss in the backyard, it's a little different. Now we in uniform, and we actually getting paid for this. So it's different than the father and son games and things like that. He's in left, I'm in right, but we had a bet. Whoever got the first hit, the other one had to pay for dinner. But the other one had a chance to tie. So he batted second, I batted third. So he gets a single. But while he's up at the plate, I yell out, come on, Dad, get a hit. I turn around, everybody in the dugout's laughing. And I go, what's so damn funny? They go, that's the first time that it's been said. Because, you get Fossil, Old Man, Gray Beard. You get all these names. Come on, Pops, things like that. And I was like, come on, Dad, get a hit. And they were like, that's the first time in this history of this game that somebody actually said it and meant it. That was their daddy hit. So he gets a hit, and then I get a hit. And I'm like, yes. So he actually hit 377 the 6 weeks that he played with us. He led our team in hitting. Had 3 home runs. I keep laughing at him because when they start him off with a fastball, they throw me a curveball. When they start him off with a curveball, they throw me the fastball. They never pitched us the same. But I learned a lot about hitting because this guy I look like him. I watch him set up pitches. I watched all the things that he did. And I said, for 17 years that I lived in your house, I learned more about hitting in the 6 weeks hitting behind you.
That's crazy.
Than I would. The things that every man has heard in their house. While you live at my house, you live by my rules. Well, my dad stayed with me. My dad stayed with me, so I got to say it to my dad. His ass moved out.
That's
He wasn't trying to hear it. But
flip the switch on.
We go into Anaheim, and he hits a 2-run homer, and he shakes my hand, and he said, "That's how you do it, son." And I just turned around and looked at him like, I can't believe you just gone. And he goes, he watched my intensity change, like, oh, I got to do this. And so I hit it out. I gave me a 3-0 pitch. I got the green light. I hit it out. I'm running around the base. I can't wait to shake his hand. I'm sitting there like that. Yeah, I got him. He made me shake everybody's hand first before he shook mine. And then we sat next to each other, and he said, you know what we just did? I said, yeah, we went back to back. Not understanding the magnitude of history, him being 38 and me being 20, not understanding any of that, I'm still in game mode. He's over there, he done switched out of game mode. He done thought about, the Hall of Fame, what this means in baseball history. I'm still in, the 3rd or 4th inning. I'm still right there. He's sitting there talking to me, and I'm like focused, like that, this blah, blah, blah. And I didn't realize what it meant until I started passing guys on the home run chart when I got to Frank Robinson and certain guys that now I understand what he felt like because it was around the same age, 38, that I'm start passing these guys on the chart. And I'm like, so this is what my dad felt like, 18 years ago. And I sat there for a second and I was playing right field at the time, and I just shook my head like, okay, now I get it. Now I understand. Now we good. So I called him. I said, now I understand, Dad, what you felt like 20 years ago, you know, when we went back to back. He was like, it took you that damn long to realize it. You know, they always got to be smart somewhere around there. But no, but he was a teammate, which was great. If Bronny makes it, I'm gonna be there with my dad to be sitting in the stands.
That'd be amazing.
That's something that doesn't happen often, and you want to be a part of it. And you know, we were just sitting there like, and you know, we're trying to calculate. Okay, he's this age, blah blah blah. He got 3.5 years, 4 years before he can play. And we're like, all right, if he stick around 4 years and he makes it, okay, we're gonna be there. Because it is special. It is special. It's one of those things, and you know, and I tell everybody, it's whether you play professional, to be outside, being able to play with your kids and still be healthy enough to play with your kids. That's the most important thing, you know. Yeah. I mean, people look at it, oh, you're. I mean, think about this. My dad went through 2 strikes and a lockout before he could play with me. Now, he had to stick around, you know, 19 years, and I had to get out of high school and play within a year and a half to be in the big leagues for this to happen. So there's a lot of factors that have to happen in baseball that, you know, football, and I don't think it's ever going to be done.
No, it can't be. Can't be.
But, yeah, unless you have a baby at 12 and
right.
But,
crazy.
You know, we work on it. I mean, but it was, you know, he, like I said, he was a teammate. He didn't treat me any differently, other than the fact that we rode together. We went to lunch together, and he paid because I called him Mr. Provider. I didn't ask to be born in this world. It just so happened.
Guilt tripped him.
Yeah.
Guilt tripped him.
What's funny is my kid's doing it to me. My son looking at me, and Trey's 26. I was like, yo, man, you going? He's like, nah, Dad. What we having for dinner? I'm like,
always gonna be Dad.
Yeah,
always gonna be Dad. Yeah, that's a good feeling, though. You played in the era. I couldn't imagine what you would have been like in a social media era with the way your style of play, your swing, how good you were. With this Last Dance now, we never got to see that backstory of Mike. He was like the one superstar that we, as basketball fans, never really got to see the other side of. So with this Last Dance and its ways kind of pulling back the curtain on what things were like back there, what have you been taking away from this?
Well, I've been sitting there with the kids and, you know, my wife, and we've been looking at each other, and she would start laughing. I'd be like, what are you laughing about? She goes, that sounds just like you. That intensity is you. I'd be like, no, I wasn't like that. She goes, oh, yeah. The difference in baseball that I said in other sports is baseball is the only sport where I can neutralize the best player. If I don't want him to play, I just stick out 4 fingers and he can go to first base. Like you tend to say, you know, you're hitting a round ball with a round bat square, hand-eye coordination, other things. But I don't take anything away from anybody's other sport, whether it be football or basketball, because that's a whole lot of pounding that y'all do that people don't see. They don't see the elbows to the ribs, the shots that you guys take going to the hole, the guys tackling and things like that. They see a good tackle, they understand that, but they don't understand what happens because everybody follows the ball. Every sport follows the ball. They don't see everything else that goes on, but you know, I sit there and, you know, for me, I just had surgery 12 weeks ago, to be 12 weeks tomorrow, shoulder surgery, which was number 20 for me. Yeah, so when people say, hey, you should have played other sport, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm happy because I do see, you know, having a kid who played, you know, high school, college, and pro, I see, you know, when he comes in Monday morning, how beat up he is. You know, I do see my little guy who's a corner, what he looks like on Sunday morning. You know, I do see, you know, and it's a whole lot different from girls basketball, the physicality from girls to boys and basketball wise. But I do see how sore my daughter was playing. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't want to be running that far. I don't want to do all that, and I don't want nobody to hit me. I'm happy right where I'm at. God throw me a 3-2 slider. Either I hit it or I don't. It's okay. But the intensity from, and I've known Mike for 20 plus years, so actually, 25 plus. But you've always heard about the intensity and how he was. Now you're seeing a little bit of it now. Mm-hmm. But, the thing is that you start laughing because you see him now after playing, owning a team. He still got that competitive edge, but he's just not as fiery that you saw back then because you're not playing. I mean, think about it. We're all retired. We sitting there like, yeah, some of that stuff don't even matter no more. We just sit there and chill. Close. Nah, 20 years ago, we'd have been blew a gasket.
Yeah. Right in the mix. Right in the mix.
But see, the difference for me is like, my dad played baseball. He helped a lot of guys out. So when we had a team fight, they was pushing me out like, this don't belong to you. We just gonna have you play. So, I mean, there's been plenty of times Dave Parker grabbed me. We was fighting Oakland. And Dave was like, nah, this don't, going back here. You don't have nothing to do with this one. And I'm like, I want to get into it. They be like, this is for the guys that need to get into it. You gonna take our game to another level. And he knew it at that, and I'm like, what? He like, just sit your butt over there in this corner. Matter of fact, if I see you in this, I'm gonna grab you. And I was like, man, I don't want him to grab me.
Hey, but Dave Park was big. Dave Park was a big dude.
Yeah, he did some things to me that wasn't fair. But I mean, that's the way things. You have certain guys, even though they play for another team, that's the kid who's gonna elevate the game, and you try to take care of him and let him understand that, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z, so this game can get to the next level.
You started a partnership with Nike, released a shoe in '96. To me, one of the best cross trainers, right up there with Deion's and Bruce Smith's. Talk to us a little bit how that started and how that made you feel, man, to have your signature shoe in baseball, and that was kind of uncommon at the time.
You grow up, my dad was a Chuck Taylor fan, Converse. So, growing up and, he didn't have a contract. The funny thing is with the Reds, it was only, I think Johnny Bench was the only one who had a shoe contract, but he had that Rawlings leather bottom, 3 spikes. And he was like, when he got to New York, he was able to get a contract. So he wanted Converse. And we was like, nah, we want Nike. We want Nike. He was like, nah, Magic and Bird, my guys. So he signed with Converse. I refused to wear them. I just was like, I ain't wearing them. He was like that dad that was like, oh, you gonna wear these, and they leather too. And at that time, you're looking at 70, 80. So the leather, I was like, I ain't wearing them. So I told my mom, I said, I'm gonna have my own shoe. And she, like every other mom, yeah, you go ahead, baby. Yeah, you know how that is. I wish you luck. And finally I got one. And the first time they put it in my hand, I just stared at it. I just looked at it like, wow, this is happening. And I still have it. It's under lock and key. But it was just one of those moments I was like, you feel that you have arrived and say that you were going to do something and you did it. Not knowing how far it was going to go. Because you always want to leave the sport better than when it came in, better than when you came in. And, my dad not being able to have a shoe because that wasn't popular then, only basketball. I tell everybody basketball, it starts a whole lot of stuff. Basketball had high tops. All of a sudden, baseball got high tops. All of a sudden, football got high tops. Basketball went 3/4. Then everybody went to the 3/4. Then basketball started with the lows. Now everybody got a speed shoe. Even in uniforms that you guys have started, the tight fit uniforms and everything else. Back in the day, the tearaway jerseys. Just everything that you guys have done over the years. Other sports have followed. Marketing. Basketball has one, I couldn't remember, back in the day, it was fantastic. I couldn't wait to find out who said it. And that was the highlight. And then all of a sudden, basketball has done a lot for culture. And, as other sports, we have to follow it. because I think that, there's some great minds in basketball for marketing their players. They don't have, I'm 6'2", and I don't stick out like a sore thumb. I can go somewhere. Somebody come in 6'5" or taller, they're like, they automatically think you play basketball or you do play. So I was able to hide where, basketball, you can't. Football, you can hide because you had a helmet on. But, the promoting of the players, you guys have been on top, since day one. How you promote your players is an unbelievable job, day in and day out. No matter, if they're the best player on the team to the 12th guy on the team, they getting some airtime and people know who they are. I mean, even in the city of Orlando, they'll name, 7 guys off the top of their head, and they'll be like, hey, we need to get rid of this. I'll be like, but the only thing I don't like is for me, the fantasy football and basketball and baseball. Because, now you start rooting, you have your team that you're playing for, and you're rooting against them because you got a guy that's playing for this team.
On the other team, right.
I'll be at the house, because I get in trouble because I was born outside of Pittsburgh. And my entire family, except like 3 people, are diehard Steeler fans. And I get in trouble because I'm a Cowboy fan. And,
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But I grew up, my uncle went to high school with Tony Dorsett. So I went that way.
That's a good reason, right?
So he went to Tony Dorsett. He was like, hey, watch this kid. And I think I was like 6 or 7. And so I just started following him. And I just became a Cowboy fan. And I don't know about you guys. How superstitious are you guys?
I'm not.
Somewhat on certain things, putting certain things on a certain way, yeah.
Stacks, what are you?
Oh, no, I'm good. I'm not superstitious at all, man. I got a strong belief in God, so I leave it at that.
I'm really superstitious. It's to the point where I have traded in cars because I ain't getting no hit in it. I had one of my friends.
That's baller.
That's crazy to hear, right?
I walk up the home plate the same way. If I come in on the first base side, I walk straight in. If I come back, if we're on the third base side, I walk behind the umpire and come in through the first base side. 3 swipes, clear out my area, back, dig in.
Routine.
But I don't touch any lines. I don't run over the mound. I touch third base. When I run out on the field for the first time, I touch first base if we're on the first base side, and third base on the third base side. Yeah, but getting back to my trading in car, I actually had one of my friends, he's from Cincinnati at the time. He actually drove one of my cars up, handed me the keys, and then drove back. So he drove 26 hours just to give me a car. And I said, man, when you get it back, go ahead and get rid of it because he hadn't. I went 0 for 11 in it.
Couldn't do it.
Nah, it can't be me. Like I said, it can't be me. It had to be the
that
car.
damn car, no question.
That wasn't routine? That wasn't routine more than superstition?
No, because I drove the other car, it got a hit.
Right. So right away, you knew it.
Right. I got a hit in that car. What's different in baseball is you got your coming out music at the beginning. That's it. When they introduce y'all. One time. So we get it 4 times. And depending on my mood swings was how I played my music. So, it could be, DMX, NWA, Eminem, had a little reggae in there with Kamali Marley. But it was like, being superstitious. And if a media person asked me the wrong question, I'd play my music that way so he could hear it. So he knew, so he could hear what I was saying.
Yeah, he could feel you without you having to say it.
I had a couple medias come up to me and was like, hey man, was that song meant for somebody? I was like, nah, what you talking about? Because I got ripped for something I didn't do, but it is what it is. And so I played.
What song did you have?
I Am Whatever You Say I Am.
Oh, yeah, talking right to him.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing I've done, a couple funny things I've done is Jay Buhner came up to hit, and we had those foam hats and the big foam cowboy hats, and I played Bonanza when he came up. And he put the bat between his legs and started jumping like this. That was one. And everybody knows Beltray, that, well, he doesn't wear a cup playing third base. I don't know how you, at third base, you're not wearing a cup.
That's scary.
So he got hit. So, you know, he was out for 6 to 8 weeks. He comes back. The first at bat that he came back, I had him play the Nutcracker when he walked up to the plate.
Hey, but do you know how bad that to be out 6 to 8 weeks from getting hit in the nut, you know how fucked up that had to be? Oh,
he petty just like you, Matt. He petty just like you, bro.
Oh yeah, I'm on my shit too. I love hearing this because I would do the same kind of shit.
But you know, I mean, we play 162 games in 180 days, so we're there every day. Now, I had a guy, Jose Manzanillo. He got hit, pitcher, and he was down on the ground, and Joey Cora standing over top of him. You run on this field, you run the fuck off the field. And he got up and ran. And we came in at the end of the inning, he was like this. Like he was swollen down there like that. And we started laughing. So he had surgery. They had to sew it together. So he was out for like 2.5, 3 months. Oh my God. We were all laughing because, the runoff, he said, you run on the field, you run off. And then we got in the dugout, we got in the training room, we was like, ooh, yeah, man, I might have walked that one off. But, what's funny is that when you're down, the one thing in baseball is like they give you all the teammates figure you ain't doing nothing. So they give you like the lover's package. It's got feathers and glitter and all kind of stuff that they, because you're going to be at home for a while. You might as well get reacquainted with mama. Well, we couldn't do that with him because he wasn't able to do nothing. So we was over there looking at him like, you can't do nothing. It's going to be all right. But we just going to look at you like. So I saw him, we saw him, he got back. We were like, you wearing a cup? And then they start cup checking him, making sure he wore one. I'm like, come on, dog. But I figured I didn't wear one because to me, if I got hit from 300 feet, I deserve to get hit. If a ball bounced it rolled 300 feet and I can't put a glove on it, I deserve to get hit.
That's your fault, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I got all them.
Right.
Yeah.
Balls ain't never get touched. Got the glove. Talk to us a little bit about the creation of your commercials. Like one of my all-time favorite commercials was I Got It, where you basically ran to California to catch a pop-up from New York and threw it back in. Talk to us how hands-on were you in the creative process of those commercials?
Well, they already had the creative done for me.
Okay.
They just asked me, did I want to do it? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I actually ran across the bridge, the Brooklyn Bridge. I actually was in Times Square in full uni, running in between cabs.
Could you imagine seeing that shit, though?
Well, no, the funny thing is, what's the liability of a team now would say, absolutely not. He's not doing any of that.
No question.
Right.
There was a cornfield in the middle of L.A. that I ran through.
Hit it here.
They had little small town USA, which is in L.A., and I ran through that. It was the wildest thing. I mean, I spent 5 days running, and L.A., the beach. Little known fact about that commercial, Vivica Fox was in that commercial. She was one of the extras in that commercial.
Really? I never caught her.
It was just like that.
That's one of your famous lines, Matt. I got it.
I'm good.
I say that now. But no, that nowadays is they try to figure out your personality. And what can you do? My thing is, I could play ball and I could help you sell shoes because it's all about putting yourself in a position where people like you. My dad wasn't a pain in the ass, so I didn't have that problem of people thinking that I was going to be that person. All the people that my dad has helped, they helped me. I mean, from your Dave Winfield, Ricky Henderson, Kirby Puckett, Chili Davis, Eddie Murray, all these guys, when they came into my town or I was in their town, hey, we're taking you to lunch. We want to pick your brain. We want you to be the guy. So I was basically groomed to be that guy at an early age.
That's amazing.
And I understood it. Even though I was still young, I understood certain things. I was still wanting to be a teenager. I still wanted to be a 20-year-old. I mean, think about it. I was 2 years in the big leagues before I was allowed to go to a club. So by the time I was 21, going to a club, I was like, I've already spent 2 years in the big leagues. I know what I need to do to stay here. And so I just learned that, people like, well, you missed you missed the college experience. You missed this, you missed that. But I tell people, no, I didn't miss that. Because here's where I wanted to be. I want to be in the big leagues. And, that would have kept me off the payroll for 4 more years, because you'd been 3 years in college before you get drafted. And then, unless you're that monster coming out of college, which very seldom that you have a position player, they still want you to go from aluminum bat to wood bat, so they want to see. Having a guy throwing 97 to 100, he ain't gonna spend much time in the minor leagues. But they want to see guys that perform day in and day out with a wooden bat. So, but it was, it's a learning curve for from you guys from college to pro ball, from high school to pro ball. I mean, and you just have to have, I think the thing that we're missing as a group is the mentorship that people want and need. People think that they can do it all by themselves. No, they can't.
No way.
And
you have
the guy,
no idea what you're getting into.
That's a big shout out to your dad, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the mentorship is, for me, the most important thing, because everybody can, you can shoot, you can run, you can dunk, you can, pass the ball. But it ain't about what you do on the field that's important. It's how you carry yourself off the field, because basketball, football, and baseball, that's going in. What can you do after? What do you want to do with your life after? I played 24 years as a pro, which is half my life. So half my life, I'm not a pro. What do I want to do? I've been fortunate enough to get in a couple businesses and try to move forward from that.
I think it's amazing because I think we speak on it today that the league is so young now, particularly the NBA, that there's no veteran leaders anymore. And, to hear that your dad kind of did so much for other guys, he was one of those true back in the day, let me help you avoid the potholes. And it's seldom you find that anymore. Your dad had a very long, successful career, all-stars, won 2 World Series. What was it like as a child growing up with a dad that was a successful professional athlete?
He reciprocated it. It reciprocated to him, as
Yeah, but I tell you what's funny about that is I didn't realize who my dad was until I was in 8th grade and I had a New York Yankee starter jacket on, and I was at school and somebody said, "Where'd you get that?" I was like, "My dad." He was like, "What? Your dad plays for the Yankees?" I was like, "Yeah." He didn't come home and project that he was this baseball player. He just was dad. When he came in the house, I didn't know if he went 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. But the things that, he taught me was, number one, you work hard. There's other people involved that are going to help you. Take the information that is given to you and apply it to your game. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, then you can talk about it, that person. Talk to that person about it. That's the hard thing is now you got guys that don't want to listen. They think they know it all. And I'm like, dude, I had an argument with a catcher one year, and he was like, "I see the ball so perfect." I said, "Dude, then why are you batting a $190? If you're seeing the ball that great,
right.
and we're in high A, you ain't going to make it. Because there are certain things that you are not doing. I'm here to help you. And I told him, I said, look, my speech that's coming in at that time of 2010, so 5 years from now, 2016, I'm not going to mention your name, that I helped you. I'm trying to help you. I'm not trying to hurt you. And I think that's where people, Cincinnati did the same thing for a while. They didn't allow the guys to show up. So, you couldn't see, my dad couldn't show up. My dad could show up because he worked for the team, but Johnny Bench wasn't there a lot. Joe Morgan, Chuck Harmon Sr., these guys that paved the way for athletes today who have seen baseball for 30, 40, 50 years were not allowed to be seen in the locker room to help the guys. And we needed those guys. So when you go into a locker room, you're not going to a locker room representing yourself. You're wanting to help a younger kid, right, make as much money as he can, but also talk to him about life situations where they don't get caught up in some of the BS that people have been caught up in. And so we get, for me, I'm fortunate enough that I work for the Mariners, and they allow me to do that. I come in, we have conversations. My phone doesn't stop ringing till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes. The young kids want to just talk about sports. They can't, the biggest thing is, how come I don't show up more? I'm like, I'm there 5 times a year. It's like, we need you more. We need to see you more. I'm like, you can call me, we can FaceTime. No, right. We want you to be here. So, so I think that's the thing is trying to get these young kids to understand that, yeah, it may be basketball, but there are other things. This game is going to continue to go on with or without you. Just, go out there, do the right thing. Every day, go out there and work your butt off, but do the right thing. Yeah. You have to ask yourself, what is it going to cost me off the field?
Good question.
That's the key. How much is it going to cost me? It may not cost me any money but it could cost me, later on, being able to have that sponsorship job, promoting a product. And I think people don't look at what's now instead of
the big picture.
What I want when I'm not playing this game. Because that money, what's the rookie minimum? I know it's like $535 for baseball, or maybe $600 for baseball.
Yeah, but it's up higher for the NBA.
You're not gonna make that at a regular job. So your spending can't overpower that. So you got to learn a lot of things, and basketball is being a part of it. But how much money do I want to keep? What are my goals when I'm not playing? How do I want to continue to generate revenue and what we call it generational wealth?
Right. Mm-hmm. But also continuing to be able to live the lifestyle you live now. The lifestyle you were accustomed to in the pros, as far as just your amenities, you have to start planning for that so you can still be comfortable once you're done. And I think that a lot of people miss that boat. A lot of people miss that boat. It's unfortunate because you work your ass off. We're put here as athletes. That's what we learn. That's what we since we were little. So once that over, that what next starts to creep in, like you said. So you have to keep all that in mind. And Jack and I have been fortunate enough because we're guys who've made multiple mistakes, but I think we've stayed true to ourselves, and we've apologized when needed to, but have always been real and authentic. And we've been able to, although we hit some major potholes, we've been able to transfer over into this next space of analyzing and kind of talking for a living. But we learned a lot along the way, and that's what we try to do. We try to motivate people. Some people have a clearer path than others, but you could still do it. You know what I mean? But you always want to keep that big picture in mind because, like you said, your career is going to come to an end. Like, what is going to be next?
Yeah, I think that, you guys have done an unbelievable job of, we were supposed to hook up, when you were here, about doing a bowling tournament, and... Yep. Yeah, I was going to beat you, by the way. Look at it. It's throwing something down the thing.
I got to get in that. I'm kind of nice at bowling. I got to get in that.
I'm going to just let y'all know, I built my house with a bowling alley in it.
So we don't stand a chance. Well, thanks for telling me. What shit? We'll just come to your house and play then, and then go to Vince's house and play play something else too.
Yeah, no, that's okay, dog. That's your sport. I'm not into that one.
That's funny.
Look, I know my limits. Look, No, I tell you, actually what's funny is when the kids left for college, I ended up getting rid of it. Like, I was like, I'm not here. Nobody's bowling. So I made it a man cave. So I put, the ping pong table, the pool table, put a little DJ booth because I want to learn how to be a DJ. I try to pick things, every year to keep, every other year or every 3 years to keep going. In 2000, I learned to scuba dive. 06, I took flying lessons, so I learned to fly.
Wow.
So I can fly my own plane.
That's dope.
I figured that my kids were going to go to school in somewhere in Florida, and I could fly down to see them and then fly back. Now my kids decided they want to go to Arizona, and I was like, "Well, I'll just take it." But my little guy's he's going to FAMU. He's going to go to FAMU. Okay. So we're looking forward to that. Well, he's always said he wanted homeschool college. Yeah, he didn't want to go far.
He didn't want to leave. I ain't mad at that.
I just keep telling him if I could move in with my mom, I would too. If my mom cooked, because nobody cooked like mom.
Save a lot of money too.
Nah.
Not even close.
I'm gonna make him pay room and board. Nah, I'm kidding.
So you're the overall #1 pick in 1987. Spend 2 years in the minor leagues, make your major league debut. Tell us what that process was like, to finally getting there. You've been around it your whole life. You obviously picked it up. You knew this was your sport. You're finally there. What was that feeling like?
They called a couple days before the draft, and they were like, "We're going to draft you, or we're going to draft a college pitcher," which was Mike Harkey. I kept saying, "Okay," and finally they go, "We want to make you our #1 pick. Are you going to sign?" And my dad said, he looks at me and goes, "Hey, they want to make you the #1 pick.
Wow.
But you can say no, and you can go to 7, 6, 7. I think the Reds in Atlanta were like within the first 11. And I said, "No, I want to be the #1 pick." And he looked at me. I was like, "I want to be #1. And he said, "We're going to sign." So the draft was actually June 2nd. So I signed the contract. June 3rd was my brother's birthday. June 4th, I was graduated high school. June 8th, I was in Seattle. June 16th, I played my first game.
Wow.
As a pro. And never had a summer off until 2010. So from 87 to 2010, everybody, I see all my friends who play other sports. They in Hawaii, they in the Bahamas, they over here in the summer. I get home, it's raining in Seattle, and but it is what it is. I mean, I got Christmas. You guys are playing Christmas. I'm at home in my pajamas and open a present.
Right.
So
it's the trade-off.
It's the trade-off. But the downfall is kids are in school, so you can't take them out, where you guys have summers off and you can go on vacation and things like that, or at least part of it, because if you make the playoffs, what is it, the end of June, it's over?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got 1 month of before school starts. Yeah. And so for us, I'm there February to October. So my kids don't get a chance to go on vacation unless it's the wintertime. But it's okay. It's a little bit of trade-off. But
a little trade-off.
Being a baseball player, and like I said, having a dad who played, I understood how to play baseball at an early age. Just like your kids know how to play basketball at an earlier age. So what you learned along the way, you're giving them that information when they can handle it. You're not going to give it to them before then. So at age 14, I knew I wanted to be a pro ball player. At age 14, defensively, I could have played in the big leagues. Now, offensively, but defensively, I'm going to spring training. The guys are hitting major league pop-ups and fly balls. I'm chasing them down. So defensively, I already knew I could play here. Offensively was a different story. You got to learn to go from aluminum bat to wood bat, and that takes some adjustment. But defensively, I was like, I can do this.
Did you eat catfish while you was in Seattle?
No, see, I'm allergic to fish.
Oh, I was about to say, because my family got a spot called Catfish Corner in Seattle on Martin Luther King and Cherry.
Look, I'll go there, but I'll get it for the guys. I'm allergic. The craziest thing is we talk about I can eat shellfish. I can eat shrimp, lobster, crab, but can't eat regular fish. It's the opposite. My mom did say I was abnormal in certain things. She said, you are not normal. I'm like, Mom, come on. But no, we just, my kids love catfish. They usually cook fish and stuff when I'm not home. They wait, for me to get out the house. So my little guy he's a red snapper guy. I don't know how.
Yeah, I love snapper. Redfish is the best fish, actually.
I just up there, like, I have a boat that we go to the Bahamas and we just catch fish, and I'm the one sitting in there in the middle, and I let my boys, catch fish. I mean, we had one time we caught 200 pounds of mahi-mahi.
200 pounds?
That's a lot of fish. That's a lot of fish.
Mm-hmm.
So you were an all-star selection from 1990 to 2000. 10 straight all-star appearances. What was that like, your first few all-star games and getting to play with, obviously the best players in the world, and you're arguably one of the best?
The first couple, I was so nervous that I was like, oh, Lord, I don't even know what I want to do. First one, Chicago, I didn't think I left the hotel room. Everybody's like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. I'm like, I ain't going nowhere. I'm just going to sit here and not waste all this energy. I did the home run derby, lost that.
Were you 20 at the time of your first All-Star appearance? Yeah.
20. Mm-hmm. And, so it was nerve-wracking. Like, being a young guy, and here's where we talk about the pitfalls, is, people pulling at you left and right and not knowing who to trust. And I was like, pulled in this direction. And finally, I was like, you know what? I've got to do what I've got to do. And playing baseball was it. But going to the All-Star game, you're looking around. My first one, I'm like, I don't even belong here. I'm looking at all these guys. These guys that got Bugs Bunny numbers. They hitting 330 at All-Star break. They got 25 jacks. They got 75 reviews. And I'm over there looking at them like, I'm over here, okay, I'm hitting 280. I got like 7 home runs. You just don't. And after a while, you start to understand that, I can play with these guys. Mm-hmm. And I'm better than these guys. Mm. And I knew that. It was an opportunity for me to show that I can play at a high level and I can play with the best players. If this is the All-Star team, I deserve to be here. So my second year, I got a couple hits. And the third time I was at the All-Star game, which was 92, I ended up winning the MVP. From that point on, it was like, oh, you can play. Everybody's going to be looking at you. And I knew it. But again, I've had guys who were molding me to be that guy, who made sure that, hey, this is the guy, this is the kid. He's got old school beliefs, but he got new school swag. People talk about my hat backwards. Well, I only wore my hat backwards because my dad's head was too big. He had a fro, and the hat kept hitting me here. So I turned it around. I just wanted to wear what my dad wore. I didn't want to be different, but the long pants. George Hendricks started that. But George Hendricks played mid-'80s. I came in at the end, early 90s. It was like, okay, Bill Buckner wore the first high tops. Well, then everybody wanted to wear high tops. But it was only cool if somebody that they could relate to wore them.
Mm-hmm. That's where you came in.
And I was like the perfect storm. I was a young kid who, not much older than most of the kids in high school, so they could relate to me. So it was easy. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be that guy. I mean, the mock turtleneck. Now everybody got mock turtlenecks. Mm-hmm. I wanted to, the carbon fiber bodysuit. Nike actually built me one. It was $90,000. to build me a bodysuit. Yeah. Carbon fiber from the elbow and knees down. You know, so
having a perfect swing helps.
The prettiest swing ever.
Just a little slap hitter, just try to make contact, not to hurt nobody. I tell everybody I try to enforce as much damage as possible. And that was the thing. But I don't have to throw my helmet. I don't have to break anything. I just got to go out there and play.
Right.
You know, the hardest thing, you know, people don't understand is, you know, people get mad. And I'm like, you don't have to get mad. You know what happened. Either you do or you don't. You can learn from it. And we only get 4 at bats. So if I hit the ball hard, I can't get mad at the guy's trying to if he makes a great play.
Right.
Now, I can get mad at me if I swing and miss and, you know, he fooled me and I wasn't prepared. I tell everybody I'm more prepared than most people. And they're like, sometimes you don't even care who's pitching. I was like, because I could care less who's pitching. I know what I need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're ready.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, he has to throw it across the plate, whether it's right-handed or left-handed. You know that it's going to break one direction or another. So you know his strengths, you know his weaknesses. You know, his strengths are, you know, if somebody's got a forkball, hits his out pitch. Well, he's not going to throw it to you the very first pitch. So I can eliminate that pitch. He's not going to come in and throw his out pitch on the first pitch. Now, if he throws it again, I've already seen it. He's going to wait till I get 2 strikes. That's why they call it an out pitch. Now, if he got an overpowering fastball, all right, you just got to change your sights to hit it more towards left center than center. It's real simple, but, you know, that way everybody makes it hard, and especially now with the launch ankle. I'm like, a launch ankle, so a pop-up is okay and a strikeout is okay. Well, back then, I mean, you guys know in basketball, guys shoot 40 times, his percentage is 10%. Y'all looking at him like he crazy.
Crazy,
yeah,
right?
We got to look at you, yeah.
Yeah, you got to look, you know, and I tell everybody that look from your peers is more damaging than what anybody can write in a paper. Because, you know, when you get taken out the game and all your peers do this to you, that
lean up.
Damn. Right. That right there. Because then, you know, I tell everybody, when you go in that locker room, they know who balling and who ain't. But, you know, for that lean, you know, I mean, that right there hurt me more than, you know, what anybody can write in a paper.
Absolutely.
Or what anybody can say. Because this is my group. Right.
Yep. These are your peers.
So, you know, nowadays they tap you on the butt, hey, good job. Yeah, you scored 23, but you shot 75 times. Okay, you carried the ball 150 times and you got 200 yards. You still looking at people? No, that ain't going to work.
Don't add up.
But, you know, we sit there and start laughing because, we start laughing because it has changed. But then, what do they say? We want it the old way when, you know, it's physical basketball or physical baseball or physical football when it's playoff time. You can't have both.
In 94, at the age of 24, you had hit 40 home runs through 111 games. You guys strike that season. Did that 61 mark creep in your mind at all, knowing what kind of pace you're on and, you know, how many more games you had to possibly get it?
No, I actually had no... Because to me, I never thought of myself as a home run hitter. I thought of myself as a line drive hitter that happens to hit home runs. You know, I just wanted to hit the ball as hard as I could and hit it somewhere. And if it went out, it went out. If it didn't, it didn't. But as long as it touched outfield grass, I was happy.
Went through
somebody. You know, but that's what draws, you know, in all sports, that's what draws people, the numbers. You know, and sometimes I tell people numbers lie. Numbers lie all the time.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some.
Yeah. You know, and people go, no, it doesn't. I go, okay. So you take a guy who is hitting in front of a monster and you take him to another team and he don't have that guy hitting behind him. Does his number change? Absolutely. Look who bats in front of like Albert Pujols when he's St. Louis. Look who batted in front of Barry Bonds. Watch those career numbers when they bat in front compared to where they're at in a different order.
Seeing good pitches.
Right. Because the pitcher will do this. He'll look at you, and then he'll look in that dugout like, oh, yeah, let me try to. All right, I can't mess around with him because he back there. I don't want to give up 2, so I'm going to have to concentrate on him. But I can because this guy, he could put us ahead, but I can't really mess around with this guy. So you look at it, and the same thing in basketball. You know, a guy dribbles down the court, all of a sudden, you know, you got that 12-footer instead of that 25-footer. You know, the mid-range jumper don't even exist no more. But that's the bread and butter. You know, you see in the paint, 3-point line. But that 7 to 12-foot range, 13, you know, you don't see that anymore. But a guy can go down there. I mean, Jordan comes down the court. We'll just use Jordan. He passes off somebody else. You know, Kerr hits it. Would Kerr hit that bucket with somebody else? We don't know because it didn't happen. But you look at great players and when other people go to somewhere else, how their numbers either drastically drop off. And same in football. You know, offensive line, Cowboys. What can you imagine if Barry Sanders was running behind that line that Emmitt Smith had?
Man, could you really imagine?
Man.
That's why I say numbers lie. Because
there's other variables that play into it. Yeah, there's other variables that play into it, right? There's other pieces that add to that. The 94 strike, do you feel like that hurt baseball as a whole? I mean, obviously attendance was down after that, and it took a while to regain the steam.
Anytime that a black eye is upon a sport, it makes it tough. The fans demand more, corporate sponsorships demand more, television demands more. And so it made it tough because you put a lot of pressure on the guys who were leading the charge of that new wave going into that. You know, I mean, 95, we still had a lockout. We started the season late. They were talking about doing replacement players. And so we started, I think, 2 weeks late. But yeah, it hurts when you don't have, you know, your guys out there, you know, the household names that people want to see out there. But sometimes you have to do things that you don't want for the good of the sport. Whether, you know, and people don't understand that. They look at, you know, the dollars of the current players, and they don't look at, okay, what are they striking for? The guys that are having trouble paying their own bills, who played in the 50, who are trying to help the guys that played in the Negro League, help them get some part of some benefits and things like that. But they only look at, because the fan is current, they look at what are they looking at right now, not not the big picture. And it's tough because you can't explain that and tell somebody that they know is in it. As a baseball player trying to explain it, they don't have anything. They're like, whatever. You're making millions and millions of dollars. Just shut up and play. But if they have somebody inside who knows what's going on and what they're trying to do, then they're like, oh, well, why didn't you say that? And you're like, we can't say everything because it's a negotiation. And it makes it tough. I mean, anytime that you have a work stoppage, it damages your sport. You don't want to see that at all. I mean, you know, the coronavirus has stopped everything. You know, but it's still, you know, how many people are going to start going to basketball games? How many people want to go to basketball games? You know, so it's got a lasting effect. And this was nothing that the two sides argued about. It just happened to be a deadly virus, and it's still going to affect how we think, you know, how we go to games and things like that.
Absolutely. You were
entertainment dollars.
Man, it's important. A lot of missing out, but we got to get it straight before we can move forward. Although you call yourself, or you were a line drive hitter that happened to hit home runs, you consistently hit a large amount of home runs. Consistently. I kind of felt like baseball came back to life in the late 90s, early 2000s with the insurgence of the long ball. There was a lot of controversy that kind of swirled in that era with guys' numbers starting to go crazy. As you being someone who consistently hit, and you see these McGuires pop up with 70 and Bonds with 73, Sosa in the 60s. What are your thoughts when people are talking about steroids and you're seeing your peers put up these crazy numbers, but you're still true to yourself and doing what you consistently do, as you see your peers doing what they're doing?
I didn't worry about it. I never, the thing that, like I said, I grew up in a household, never check somebody else's money, never question somebody else's money. What do they do? Whatever they do, they do. You can't control that. You're not going to be the biggest person on the team. You're not going to be the fastest person on the team. You're not going to be the strongest. But you just don't let somebody outwork you. That's was my attitude. Is I would ride my bike at 2 a.m. I'd get my 15 miles in at 2 a.m. Nobody needs to see how hard you're working. As long as you know that you're working, that's the most important thing. When I look in that mirror and go, I gave it all, that's the only thing I can do. The media, they're going to talk about what they want to talk about. And that's the downfall of playing, sports. Is some people have an axe to grind, some people just wake up on the bad side of the bed, and some people are true fans. And for me, did I worry about? Nah. I didn't worry about nothing but my teammates and what they thought about me. What happened on somebody else's dime, that was theirs. What happened on my field, that's the only thing I cared about.
I said, "Hey, they some cheaters, and I don't respect cheaters."
This is you make a great. I mean, it's still kind of a complex subject. Looking back now that you're done, looking back on the steroid era of baseball, you were in. When it was going on, you were a part of it. Now, kind of being removed from baseball. Obviously, what are your thoughts? Because obviously, some guys are having problems getting to the Hall of Fame. That were good players, but their numbers were ballooned once they started doing that. Looking back on all of that and knowing you were kind of in the mix playing during that time, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, being a Hall of Fame member, I still don't vote. I don't have any voting rights. That's up to the media, the voting media who vote on the Hall of Fame. And, so I don't get to say, yeah, this guy gets in. Yeah, there are certain guys that should be in. There's certain guys that people go, he was borderline and all of a sudden, but there's guys that were great and then now they become monsters. But to me, it's one of those things that I don't vote, so I don't really have an opinion on, things that I can and can't control. That's the only thing I worry about. But for the most part, Gene Clines was my first hitting coach. He was like, numbers will take care of themselves. And people know who did the right thing and who did the wrong thing. You just got to keep playing. And he said it to me after he called me. So when you're 19 in the big leagues, your hitting coach calls you numbnuts all day. Come here, numbnuts. So he's like, and he still calls me that. I'm like, dude, I'm 50. He's like, I don't care. You're still young. He was like, hey, your numbers will do it. You can't worry about anything else. Go out there and play your game. And, the media has got their way of doing things. You just have to go out and play. You have your way. And voting on the Hall of Fame, yeah, there's some guys that should be in. There's some guys that, may not ever get in because of, whether they're questioned or not. If they have questionable 5 or 6 years. But for the most part, I don't look at it as a knock on those guys. Because, I try to look at both sides in a way. If you're a 25-year-old guy, 2 kids, and say this vial of steroids is going to get you to be in the big leagues to provide for your family, what are you likely going to do?
Not mad at it.
If you're on a borderline, if you're the guy that goes from AAA big league, AAA big league, AAA big league, but this $100 can keep you in a big league. And I got my aunt and uncles who have to take steroids to live, but for breathing and everything else. That's asthma and a couple other things. But, so I look at it, try to be like, okay. But when it comes to sports, it's a little different because people think that everything is fair. Everybody wants things to be fair. Anytime, like I said, that you have a black eye in your sport, it becomes tough for the guys who are playing.
You were the kid on the scene in Seattle. You guys had a very talented team over your tenure there. Tell us what it was like when Alex Rodriguez came along, because he was someone, they were just excited, for him as they were for you, because they saw the potential superstar Hall of Fame talent in a young kid, and you guys were together. So what was that like?
The first couple of years, Alex was young, trying to mold him to get him there. And, once he played a couple games and started getting comfortable, once he was at short and he knew he was going to be the everyday shortstop, you could see him really settle in. Batman and Robin, that's, what it was like in our locker room. And I started laughing. And one day I made a comparison. I said, it's like Michael and Scotty. I just hope people realize sooner than later how good this kid can be. And it was just funny because, you could see him as a kid start to develop and get bigger, stronger. And watch him, because he batted second and I batted third. So I could just see him playing. Got a bird's eye view. And, they show a clip of in Baltimore. I mean, we're at home playing Baltimore. And they took my bat, which he used, so they can x-ray it. And so I just, I'm on the on-deck circle. I threw my other bat to him, and he went up and hit, he hit a home run with it. Mm-hmm. I think that year he had over 400 against Baltimore, so they were trying to mess with him. See, baseball, you can, hey, he's doing this, he's doing that, try to get you out of your game plan. But he went up there and hit a home run, and we started laughing. But yeah, he, the 6 years we played together, he was, Alex. What you see is what you get. Wanting to, learn the game and study it like everybody else.
Do you guys still have a friendship? Do you guys still communicate?
We every now and then we get a chance. I mean, him in Miami, traveling the world. He got J-Lo. He traveling all over the place. He doing, I'm more of a homebody. Try to relax, raise kids, and that's it. But we see each other every now and then. We'll say hi. On cool. Certain things. The spring training, your All-Star break, and a couple other events that I got to do that I'll run into him.
What was it like after your tenure in Seattle to go back home? Obviously, your first year with the Reds, you hit 40 home runs. What was it like going back and playing in Cincinnati?
A little strange at first, wearing the same uniform that my dad wore for so many years. Just an adjustment from city to city, and people don't realize how hard that is. You know where to eat, you know where to go. Even though I grew up there, the last time I was there for an extended period of time, I was
a long time ago.
17 years old. I was 17. Mm-hmm. So 17 to 30, I was in Seattle, basically. So learning how, where to go, what routes to take, what restaurants are good, trying to get a new cell phone.
The small things, the things you take for granted. You take those kind of things for granted because you're so accustomed to them.
Yeah, so hey, got to change my number. Okay. What's funny is the lady I called, I said, hey, I need to get a cell phone. And she you want me to give it to you? I'm like, nah, I'm going to give you my address and my credit card. She automatically assumed that I just wanted you to give me the phone. I'm like, nah, that ain't. And for 15 years, up until she passed away, we were pretty good friends. I mean, she'd stop over, make sure I was okay. She was like my mom. She would come in and say, hey, you need anything? I'm like, nah. She was like, I was just in the neighborhood doing my cell phone stuff. I figured I'd stop by and say hi, bring over food. When I got hurt a couple times, she made the family come over and keep me company. So, it was pretty. The hard part, like I said, is, the adjustment. People can make the adjustment. And if you're a superstar, it takes a little longer because there's certain things that you have. And I'm not asking for anything different, but I know things are different. Where can you go to hang out and be okay? If you're the 25th man on the team, you can go anywhere. Nobody really knows you're playing. Mm-hmm. But if you're the number one guy, You know,
it's a little
you
different.
gotta, yeah, you know. So, but the funny thing is I ate at the same Benahanas from
Benihana's.
yes, from age 7 till now. So every time I go to Cincinnati, I always go there, and it's the same one.
Can't go wrong with Benihana.
You're going to win there. Walk me through this 24-hour phase. September 10th, 2001, you're in Chicago playing against the Cubs, and the next day is 9/11. Talk to us what that was like, because baseball was the one sport, I always say, through tragedy, sports is what's been able to pull us together. Unfortunately, through this, this pandemic, we have no sports. But for 9/11, what was that like, that 24 hours, and then being able to get back to baseball, knowing how bad the world needed it?
I just woke up, happened to be watching CNN, and I was like, man, that's a hell of a movie. Like you looking at something, and they were like live, and then I was like, oh my. You immediately pick up the phone. I called Melissa, and she was like, hey, this is going on. I said, are you watching this? She goes, yeah. And it was just so real, like, and then they said all games are canceled. And we were like, what? Like, we knew it, like, before we even got on the bus. So, like, the first bus is, like, at 1:30. We knew that, hey, ain't no games being played today. We are, and it's a scary thing because, we're away from our families. You know, my wife is in Florida. I'm in Chicago. We just had a attack on our country. What do we do now? So we had to sit there for a couple days, and finally I was like, look, I'm about to buy a car and drive back. I'm gonna drive back to Cincinnati, or I'm gonna drive to Florida. And one of my friends, Big Frank, who passed away, it'll be 12 years tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the one that also drove my car up from Florida to
The one you went slumping, the one you had a slump in?
Yeah. So Big Frank was in Cincinnati. He picked me and Barry Larkin up and drove us back. And then my wife drove up from Florida. And I remember opening the back of the Suburban. It was packed, like she wasn't going back. And all I see is a little Rottweiler head sticking out the back of it. But, you have a Suburban. She packed it like, we're not going back. Whatever happens, we all going to be together. And I think that's what helps is like when you're with somebody through, whether, pandemics or a terrorist act, when you're with family, you grow and you're better for it. And, but it was the most unnerving, probably week and a half that I've ever had, because you don't know what's going on, how many times, is it going to happen again? Because you hear the stories, are they going to do it to next time to a sports arena? We're the only ones playing at the time. So it was like one of those things like, what's next? Are they going to hit a baseball, basketball, football? But something's gonna, so the security changed. Being able to go from the bus to the plane, that changed.
Way
now
different. Different.
Yeah. I mean, and I remember as a kid, I could run all the way to the gate to go see my dad when he came off the plane. I'd be in pajamas at 7 years old going to see dad at the gate. Now, no.
You need an ID. You need an ID at 7 years old now.
Yeah, and then
to get through.
Look, an ID, at least 2 forms.
Right.
But the other thing is, leaving the ballpark now, you got TSA that wands you before you even get on the bus.
Right. Yeah.
So it's changed a lot. I know that people complain. But it's a safety for the masses.
It's needed.
Nah.
It's much needed.
Yeah, not just for, you and that's it. People are so worried about themselves all the time that they don't see that, there's other people in this. They don't, unless you're a celebrity, they don't name but one person on that plane.
Right.
If you're a celebrity. Now, they name everybody, They don't name everybody. They just name that one. So, I try to tell people, hey, it's for the good of the country. Even now, here in Florida, they talk about, 25%, they're going to start letting businesses get back. But you're still leery about, do you want to, what was it? Nail salons, beauty salons, hair barbershop, couple restaurants, and tattoos. I'm like, okay, well, I don't visit 3 of those, so we good there. But that food I got to, but you
gotta have it.
Yeah. But it's just a matter of how we do things. And, like I said, going back to 9/11, it was the scariest time that I had as a pro because of the uncertainties that go along with it. That everybody had pretty much. But you know exactly where you are on 9/11.
Right. Oh, and you always gonna remember that time.
Right, but there's certain things in your life that like I know exactly where I was at when I heard Kobe passed.
Right.
I remember, looking at the temperature, the time, and everything else, calling people that were close to him like, man, please tell me this ain't true. There's certain things that you never want to hear.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That was and never want to see, and that was one of them.
Yeah. 2002 to 2004, pretty injury-ridden time for you. You missed 280 games over 3 seasons. 2005 to 2007, it looks like you get your swag back. What was it like? Because people don't understand the mental that comes along with, as bad as we want to get back out there, but the mental process of being able to recover and then recover to a level where you're coming back and you're back to being successful as you were before. Because sometimes a lot of athletes don't get to regain what they lost from those injuries.
My mental focus is probably different. Like I told our trainer who, when I tore my hamstring, I was riding a bike and he sat like right here over top of me riding a bike. And I said, look, man, this bike ride could be 45 minutes or it could be 4 hours. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, look, it is my name on the back of that jersey. It is my career. It may say Cincinnati Reds on the front, but they don't go Cincinnati Red. They look at it and go, oh, that's Ken Griffey Jr. I'm going to do this workout. But if you stand behind me, it's going to take long. I said, because what you have is a test after each session. Here's where we need for you to be at these certain benchmarks. But if you stand behind me, those benchmarks get longer because I'm not doing it. I'm going to sit there and slow play you. The next day he was in his office doing his work and I was doing my work. It is my career and I will bust my butt. I don't like people looking over my shoulder. I don't want to be looking over somebody's shoulder. You got to be able to trust me. And I told the surgeon, I said, look, man, he's going to stand here. We're going to be here all day. He was like, don't stand there. He liked to do it. I get my work in, I get out. And 6 weeks later, we were able to run. I mean, if you look at it, I played in 95 when I shattered my wrist. I played the playoffs with a plate and 9 screws in it.
An amazing catch. I mean, amazing catch, by the way.
And I don't. And the crazy thing is, I had this surgery in December so I can make it to spring training.
Wow.
To remove the screws and plate. Injuries are part of the game. I've got 3 at-bats on a minor league extent. So I went down when I shattered my wrist. I had 3 at-bats. I flew myself to Minnesota. Looked at Lou, said, I'm ready. Lou was like, huh? By that time, they couldn't even have the doctor. He was like, well, he already there. I guess he ready. I've never gone on a rehab stint again. Because I told him I'm not going back to the minor leagues no matter what. The only time y'all gonna see me as I'm going back to the minor leagues is if I'm coaching or I'm doing something. But as a player, I will not put on a minor league uniform. And I promised myself that. And my attitude and my mentality was, I'm gonna work to get back there. Because people don't know, professional rehab is totally different than the mom and pop rehab that they
they have no idea what real rehab is like.
No, we go, hey, come see me Tuesday, Thursday. We'll see you next Tuesday, Thursday.
Around the clock.
Right. I had a little bit of a tough time in Cincinnati. Going back to that, when I did get hurt, is I was visiting. I was at one of Big Frank's softball games. It was, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And people are just ragging me on the radio, talk about his ass should have been rehabbing. Well, you tell me what rehab place is open at 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
But people don't understand it. They feel that, they feel that they can say whatever they want. But then when an athlete says something back, oh, we the bad guy.
No question.
And that ain't necessarily true. Is how you approach me is how I'm going to approach you. If you come up to me,
respect.
Hey, man, I like blah, blah,
Straight
blah,
up.
But they feel that they can say something, and then all of a sudden, well, he was an ass. I'm like, no, dog, you came at me a certain way.
Right.
But those are the type of things, because I got hurt quite a few times in Cincinnati, it ain't my fault.
Right.
I got hurt on the field trying to make our team better. I rounded third, I blew out my patella tendon, hamstring, an ankle where I had my paralegal longus tendon. I don't even know how you pronounce that, but it stabilizes your foot, I have 80 stitches from my ankle bone to that little, almost through that little bone that hangs out by your pinky toe. I got 80 stitches. They had to sew it together. I've got 6 titanium screws in my shoulder. I've got 3 in my tailbone. I just had my other shoulder done, 12 weeks ago. Do I complain? Absolutely not. Would I do it all over again? Absolutely, because it's the game that I love to play. And I only know one way to play, and that's play hard. So when it comes to getting my work in, it's the same thing. In order for me to get out on the field, I got to put my work in to get out on the field. And people don't see that. They think that, hey, what are you doing at rehab? Well, my rehab starts at 9 o'clock, and then I got till 1, and then when the team goes out on the field, then I rehab from 7.
Some more.
7 to 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then I do it all over again. So my rehab were at the ballpark. When the team was in town, it was at the ballpark. When the team was out of town, I would go to a rehab facility and work from like 8 to 4.
Full day.
Yeah. And then I'd come home and, watch part of the game, fall asleep, and then get up the next morning and do it again. But when the team was in town, I'd still, 9 to 1, when all the guys got off the bus and stuff like that coming into the ballpark, the trainers they got a job to do with the other guys. And then I would go back when they went out on the field to play the game. I would still be at the ballpark doing my second round of therapy.
No, it's a grind. Definitely a grind.
Yeah.
People, the everyday person has no idea.
No, it's a lot easier to play the game than actually rehab. Because if
it's the worst. Rehab's the worst.
Yeah, because rehab is not one of those things that, like I said, it's one of those things where you like, I don't wish this on anybody. And I had to do it for basically 2.5 straight years.
That's tough. No, I remember those days. Those are tough. So 2009, you returned to Seattle, eventually retire in 2010. Was it important for you to get back to where you started as a professional and retire? And what was it like realizing, okay, it's time to hang it up?
You always want to retire where you started. They gave you your opportunity, whether it's good or bad. There's 2 things happen there, but you still have to be able to contribute to a team, and the team's got to be able to want you. So fortunately for me, I was able to do both. I was still able to contribute. Being 38, I knew I wasn't going to play every day, but I can help the younger guys in the clubhouse, get them ready. How do I approach the game where they needed to see? Because, when you have a guy who's done it constantly and throw up some numbers, when he go in there to a locker room, you automatically look at him going, that's him. That's that guy. And having a young coaching staff that Seattle had at the time, they weren't going to be able to do that. And so they brought in Mike Sweeney and myself to be able to help with the clubhouse situation. And we were able to do that. And then about retiring, and to be honest, got tired of being lied to. Not so much that I got tired of the team being lied to by a certain individual. I won't mention his name. But I told them, I said, look, when I become a distraction, I'm gone. And they knew that. And I always said this. I said, I ain't going to have this big old fanfare. I'm not going to have the press. I'm going to just get in my car and send the fact, talk about it. He gone. Well, when athletes say that and they do it, people have to go up and, they get livid. Like, he didn't have this. He didn't, like I already told y'all a while ago, I'm going to just get in my car. I'm going to be gone. And I did. I jumped in my car at like 3 a.m. and started driving. I drove from Seattle to Orlando nonstop by myself.
Yo, how long did that take you? That's a drive.
That's all the way across the world.
That's a drive, bro.
It took me 43 hours.
Damn. And that was it. That was it. You really rode off. That was it.
I called a couple people because all my friends and family who, man, I don't want to hear about you retiring on ESPN. Call me. So I called the people that I need to call. When I got home, the assistant GM flew in that day and looked at me. He was like, Roger was like, you all right? I go, yeah, I'm all right. He goes, you look okay. I go, yeah. And I looked at Melissa and I was like, hey, what's next? She was like, well, we got girls basketball. We're going to be in Chicago. We got Atlanta. We got Atlanta, Tennessee, Chicago, and then back to Atlanta. I was like, okay, let's go. And I knew from that point on, I was dad.
Yeah.
And I didn't worry about, the baseball part of it. And then a couple weeks later, they relieved the whole staff of the baseball department. The manager and his crew. And they asked me, did I want to come back? I was like, nah, because then people, the one thing about athletes is we have to look at it two ways. If we do something, what's the positive, what's the negative? If I were to come back, they would be like, well, he only came back because they fired the manager.
Because of this, right, yeah.
And so I was like, so it wasn't a positive, it wouldn't have been a positive spin if I'd have came back. So I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay retired, blah, blah, blah. Got a couple calls a couple months after that, and they said, hey, we want you to join our front office staff. Here's what we want you to do, X, Y, and Z. We want you to go see these kids in the minor league. We want you to talk to them. My phone number has been the same for 12 years. I haven't changed my phone number in 12 years. Because the kids that have it, that need for me to talk to, they know that they got it. If you got my number, there's a reason why you have it. My wife is constantly telling me, hey, you need to get you a new phone number. This thing rings too much. And I'll be looking at it going, ooh, my screen time was 5,000 minutes or something like that. But it is what it is. But it was time. I mean, I didn't want to be a distraction. I didn't want everybody just to be able to talk about me. Once you start talking about me and I'm not playing, then I can't have that.
2016, you're in the Baseball Hall of Fame. What was that experience like?
You get the call, but it's like one of those slow motion calls. You don't really know what to say. You know what I mean? You don't know what to say. And I get done with the call, and I just like, whew. Then we fly up to New York, and that's a press conference. There for 2 days. Ring the bell, which was cool. Got to ring the New York Stock Exchange bell. You see that on TV. I finally got to do it. We actually get to Hall of Fame on Wednesday. Get there Wednesday night. I'm sitting around all day Thursday. What's funny is Wednesday, there's like a couple hundred people in the hotel. Come Thursday, ain't nobody in the hotel because they booked the hotel. So nobody's in the hotel but, the Hall of Famers. So they start coming in and so Friday I sit down to write my speech. I started writing Friday. And again, being superstitious, I played in 3 Hall of Fame games and never walked into the building until I was a Hall of Famer. So I started writing my speech. I gave it to them. They gave it back to me on Saturday. They were like, they were getting nervous because I didn't write anything down. They were like, you gonna write your speech? I was like, yeah, I just, I wanted to be there and be able to think about it and have the raw emotions about being a Hall of Famer, then to be able to be sitting in my office going, okay, so this is the way it is. I was there. I had my family was there. I had some close friends, so I was able to really concentrate and think about it. Where me being in the house, you can look at, okay, do I want to talk about this situation? But I just want to hit certain people in my speech. Mom, dad, wife, kids, my agent, Lynn from Nike, and y'all know Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
But there were certain people that I just wanted to hit and keep it moving. I didn't want it to be one of those long drawn out things. Now the hat backwards part, they had to talk me into it. Frank Thomas was like, "You better do it. You better do it." I was like, "Man, I can't do it." He's like, "You better do it." And like, "All right, I'll do it." The feeling that I had was I was overwhelmed because you're nonstop with the interviews from Wednesday, Thursday. And when I finally got to sit down Friday, I was good. Then it was Saturday. I got to play golf, which was a little weird. Like they got the little golf course next to the thing. And then there's people lined up on the road wanting to get autographs, and I'm like, let me just drive on this side. Let me stay over here. Right. And if and like, the Hall of Fame and for basketball and baseball, it's such a small place. Small city. So, I didn't realize how small it was until this is our downtown. Where's the closest supermarket? About 15, 20 minutes away. I'm like, huh? How y'all get anything here? Mm-hmm. And
that small town living. Everything.
Yeah, but it was great. Yeah. I mean, I was glad it was over because 17, 18, and 19, I got to chill. I ain't had no interviews. I ain't had nothing. I was over there like this. All right, order all the food I wanted.
Finally,
that first day at work. But it's also like I brought my dad with me, and half of the big red machines, there they start lying. Mm-hmm. Those stories that y'all hear, even today, if Dr. J walked in there and he started lying about them stories about him and Oscar Robinson and somebody else, you'd be like, man, look, dog, y'all was playing on 8.5 foot.
Right.
Yeah. But it's funny. You just like really, but all these guys that I got to grow up watching, I am now looking at them. And in baseball, and I don't know how it works out in basketball, but we got sections. We got the big boy section. So if you got, 400, 500, 600 home runs, you sit at this table. You got 300 home runs over here. You got, So they were teasing, the guys who have right at 200, they call it the kids section. They be able to, this is the y'all section. Y'all get a Happy Meal. I mean, it's the funniest egos in the world because they know they stats and they be firing off they stats to somebody else. But when you have like Hank, he said his own table. Hank and Willie, they had their own table. That's what we say. That's the funny thing is that's that grown folks territory. The children should be singing out here. Mm-hmm. But then they go, you got 600. You sit over there too. I'm like, I ain't sitting next to them. Yeah. Because those are like. I tell everybody those are like that's baseball royalty, and I understand that to people that I am to a certain extent, but I have a different view like everybody else. When they walk into the room, I'm like this. Like my last year, I was in San Francisco, and I walked past the training room. Not training room, the clubhouse door, and Willie and McCovey were sitting there. And I tried to sneak by, and Willie goes, excuse me, you got enough home runs, you can sit in this room too. And I was like, and I had that look like, I'm still a kid, like, I'm like, man, that's Willie Mays and Willie McCovey. Right. Yeah. And they started laughing because I immediately, when I sat down after I talked to him, went back to the room, I called Barry. And Barry said, he started laughing. He goes, I told you they was crazy because, and then Barry came in the next day to see me. But it's so funny that, when as kids, there's certain people who walk into a room that y'all watched growing up that they just don't seem real. Even though you may have played against them and, they talk to you, you just look at them like, man, he ain't real. He just there. Mm-hmm. And that was, Hank the same way, Hank got mad at me last time. He said, because I ain't give him a hug. I said, man, I just hugged you. He was like, oh, that was you? I said, yeah. He was like, oh,
that was you.
Yeah. Because I gave him a side hug because he wasn't looking at me. He was in the middle of a conversation. I didn't want to interrupt him. So I just gave him a little hug, kept going. Again, there's certain people that, you know when they walk in that room, like, them numbers there. And we all know those guys. You know, y'all have them in basketball. If somebody walk in there, y'all just, that's him.
There goes that man.
Yeah. But I grew up where, like, Willie Stargell, Hank Aaron, I would see those guys constantly, but at 10, 11, 12, you have no idea.
The historical context, right.
Right. And then all of a sudden you get hit upside your head, like, and that's the thing that, after that, my dad was like, you got to learn the history of the game that you want to perfect. And that's why I started studying baseball. I study other sports. I could run a high school football team, and I could probably get you a girls basketball team.
He said girls basketball team.
Well, see, the girls basketball team, they're much more easier than boys. Boys want to and one somebody all day. Girls fundamentally sound.
I got a chance to meet you when I played in Orlando. I would always see you at the game. Know you're a big basketball fan. Who were some of the teams you were following this year and players that you follow and enjoy watching?
LeBron. What's crazy is you hear about my man, the Greek Freak, a lot. Being in on the West Coast. Kyrie, waiting to see when Durant gets back. I met Porzingis a couple years ago, so I'm like, so I look at it as I don't really look at teams. I just see my guys, like the people that I know. And see what they're doing. I mean, that's, the people that I know, and I go from there. But, being that LeBron's on the Lakers, so I'm like, okay, here it is. I'm going to watch Milwaukee, because you hear a lot about Milwaukee, LeBron, and then New York. But the thing is, the Nets, not the Knicks, because they in a little bit of trouble right now. They can't figure out their front office situation. But, I look at it that way, back when we started, you looked at the team. And if your guy left the team, he would no part, you didn't even mess with him no more. He ain't on my team.
Right.
Now, people change teams, follow their players now. It's more player-driven.
Yeah. So, I just sit there. I watch Houston because my man left, Harden left, and Westbrook now joined him after, how did that going to work? CP3, what's going on with that? I mean, I look at it, it is player driven, but these are the guys that, number one, my kids look at, so we can have some conversations. So the dialogue, not so much about sports, but what about his game? Look what he's doing in the community and things like that. I always say, hey, anybody can play the game. What is he doing to better his community?
Talk about
it. And that's it. I mean, I was on the governing board for 20 years. I actually paid to be on that board. Would I do it again? Absolutely. The Boys and Girls Club here, they know, and I'm in Orlando, so, they know they can count on me. They call, hey, can we, we need an auction item, what you want? And there's no question. It's like, what you want? They be like, hey, we got a lot of people that want to play golf with you. How many you got? We got five foursomes that paid the same amount. All right, let's go. And I got no problems doing it. Like all my friends know, y'all got a charity event. Be more than happy to show up, play golf, help y'all out.
Appreciate that. Man, thank you. That's what's up. That's dope.
And get y'all in some bowling.
Yeah, I'm ready for that. How you feel about today's game compared to back in the 90s, early 2000s?
Just like anything else, they've a little bit softened it up. The big money has come in and made sure that these guys are on the field. If I take out my best player, people ain't taking vacations to come see guys play. Back then, Man, but it's different in baseball because if he takes the day off in baseball, you might be there. You're going to be there 3 days. In basketball, you're there one night and gone. So, when you hear load management, we always start looking like, what is load management?
Right.
In baseball, we go, yeah, he took a day off. He a little sore. And plus, he got, we got a day off tomorrow, so we giving him 2 days. But, when people look at, the word load management, they get upset. But we play 162 games. We're in the town for 3 days. People have an opportunity, and if you're hurt, they know that you're hurt prior to that. It's not you show up at the arena, and but it's hard. But I understand, you want to see your best player. So when a guy is making 40 million, you want him out there. And that's what, butts in them seats is the most important thing. And, it's tough. I mean, it's tough because you want to be able to give the fans everything you have, but you also know that you need your rest. And how do you do it? It's that fine line, how do we rest, our big guys, because they're the ones that's driving this engine. But people also have to understand the opportunity that you're going to see a guy who may not normally play that might become your favorite player.
Next, yeah. Who's next up?
Yeah, he might get an opportunity. He might drop 30, be like, I like him. I mentioned, I mentioned to this, my kids all the time. There's a guy called Wally Pipp. And,
Wally Pipp.
Yeah, he decided he wanted to take a day off, and he didn't play because the Iron Horseman said, "Don't worry about it, I got this." Luke Gary said, "I'm going to play it every day."
The rest was history.
Yeah, but and that's the hard part is as athletes, we know we want to go out there every day. And everybody knows you could tell when somebody's run down, but you still want to give the people. If you're a starter, that you want to go out there and give it your all. You may need to take a breather here and there, but you want to be out there because those people come to see you play.
Being a big part of Seattle sports tradition and history, with the Sonics obviously leaving, I thought Seattle was a great city. Jack and I both got a chance to play against the Sonics before they left. Do you have any good stories about Sean Kemp or Gary Payton while you were out there as a player?
Well, I had courtside seats, but I had courtside like I was next to the bench on the baseline. So I always, when they called timeout, I always act like I was in the huddle.
Everything. Thought she was on the team.
Yeah. So one day, George happened to look over and look at me. And after the timeout and everybody went out there, he slid by. He said, "What were you doing?" I said, "Look, I was just trying to see if I can get me 2-3 shots up while I was, I go in there." And he said, "Absolutely not." I said, "Now, my daddy scored 20 points against you in high school, so, He was like, "Oh, you know that?" I was like, "Oh, absolutely. I was."
That's funny.
Like that. But, it's funny because Gary and the one person I tell you I was scared of was X-Man.
Xavier McDaniels.
Yeah. A lot of people were scared of him.
Because he just looked mean all the time. But he'd always give me high five, like, "Yo, man, what's up, bro?" I'd be like, "Yeah, man, all right." But when you're in such a small city, and I call it a small city, a small group, and these guys, when they want to come to baseball games, we want to, now, you go to different sporting events, and they're like, "Hey, man, I'll leave you this. Come on in. We got the parking here. We got this. You got a suite. We got you." And, you take care of, back then, you took care of everybody that was in your city. Even though they may have played a different sport, it was still your city. That was y'all's city. Right. I don't find that as much nowadays. When guys have three sports franchises, they They don't reciprocate. The baseball team would go to the football team, When I got hurt in Cincinnati, I was the very first person to work out at the Bengal Stadium. As hey, I was going on the underwater treadmill, and they were like, we don't allow anybody over here, but you're the first. I'm like, huh?
It's weird.
Are we all in to build this city together?
It's different.
It was just crazy. It was mind-boggling to me that, hey, if there's a piece of equipment that can help, bring awareness to get a guy back, but also bring awareness to my city, I got to do it. And it was mind-boggling. And now they work together, but before then they ain't work at all together.
It's different times. All right, last question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Your all-time top 5 in the NBA.
In any order?
Any order. Don't have to be an order.
All right, we'll go with Michael, Kobe, LeBron, AI.
Like that.
And Dr. J. And Dr. J.
Dr. J. Ooh, okay.
Nice.
Dr. J.
All respective 5, they'll be at that go table. All of them will be at that go table.
I kind of lied about the order thing. So is Jordan is Jordan the greatest player of all time to you?
See, here's the thing. I argue with my friends all the time about this. I don't have a greatest of all time. I have the greatest of his era.
Oh, okay.
Because Michael didn't play against all the old greats, and I just feel that you've got to play against those guys. So when they talk about the top 50 best players, I look at it, no, you can have the top 50 of an era. Not so much, because how many home runs would Hank Aaron and Willie Mays hit if they didn't, and I use it in baseball terms, if they didn't get thrown at, if they had the travel that we had, if they had the conditioning that we had. So I can't, Jordan learned something from, Dr. J. Kobe learned something from Michael, so it's a passing of the torch. So I can't say who's better. I mean, basketball was different in every era, and people have to adapt to that, just like you have to adapt in baseball and football. Now you can't hit a quarterback below the waist and above the shoulder pad. Before, you asked Terry Bradshaw that, you're like, excuse me, they're taking me to the high. Right.
They're tearing people in half.
So I just look at it as, is he the best at his era? Absolutely. And because the game has always changed, adaptability and availability are the two biggest things in sports. If I can adapt and be available, I can play. But you can't go wrong with saying MJ is one. You can't argue that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point, though. That's a great point. Ken, thank you for your time, for sitting down with Jack and I today.
Thank you.
It was an honor to have you today. Thank you for your time.
I have to come back on.
Absolutely. That's a wrap. All the Smoke special episode with Ken Griffey Jr. We appreciate your time. Jack, great show.
Good job, bro.
You can catch this on Showtime Basketball, YouTube, or all platforms streaming podcasts.
All of them.
Showtime presents The Shy with Love, a special concert event inspired by the original series. Join us as Chicago's very own perform inspiring songs of strength and love. Sunday, 7/6 Central at theshywithlove.com.
This life was all I ever wanted.
I'm not leaving. Not yet.
I was hoping you'd say that.
We gotta hit the streets, make some money.
People like us must destroy people like him. Buckle up.
Get Showtime free at Showtime.com.